35-22, and it was a really interesting game. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best pleasure predictions and opinion, and I'm being joined directly from France, well, from a wine bar in France, by Mary. How are you doing?
Hello, Kia ora.
And so yeah, you obviously had the French commentary, whereas we had the English commentary. Now that kicked off with just basically in the first quarter of the game, they were just saying how bad Italy were and how good France were. I thought it was a tad harsh. Italy were making their tackles, but France were just had lots of support runners, kept their hands free, got the offloads going, and were playing some really nice rugby.
Yeah, they were. I mean, France started so strong with the try for Teddy Tuma, and 10 minutes later they gave the try for Meridian. But Italy actually defended quite well. They just didn't seem to be able to reset at all. But it was quite. I'm trying to think of the word. It was very harsh on Italy, I thought, the scoreline in the first 17, 20 minutes.
Yeah, agreed. Italy were making their tackles, but they weren't wrapping up the play. Which meant the ball was getting, France were getting a quick ball, they had willing runners, so they were getting over the gain line. Italy couldn't reset, and that just kept
I'm not getting
repeat.
any of this at all. Sorry, I'm not getting one word. I'm going to have to try and go on.
Unfortunately, I lost Mary there. Obviously, some technical issues. These happen when you're doing from remote locations. So the what we saw there in that first half was that Italy would get down the pitch, turn the ball over. They weren't committing enough players to the ruck. We then had France with willing runners offloading the ball, keeping that ball alive, which meant that they were getting over that gain line with super hyper quick ball. And each time they got over that gain line, basically Italy couldn't reset, and we saw those early tries. The wind was it was a gale outside. We've seen the mess it made or the storm made of the Scotland-England game yesterday, and the wind was still there. You could tell that by some of the kicks that were missed by Untermac mainly. But yeah, it was a bit, and it wasn't as bad as the Scotland game, let's be honest. But yeah, some of the kicking was hampered definitely by that. We definitely saw Italy change how they played and brought it much narrower for a while to try to just get hold of the ball for a bit after that sort of 20 minutes. Before then, they tried playing a little bit of width, but got themselves isolated, kept losing the ball at the ruck. So they kept in tight, went out rugby, just played 9-man rugby, not even 10, and just kept hold of the ball. Then suddenly they switched it up, got an offload, a quick pass. Okay, it hit the ground, but it was in the right direction. It picked up by an Italian player, and suddenly they're scoring a try through Minozzi, who had an overlap on that side. They saw where the space was, and they got the ball there. Was it the prettiest way to get the ball there? No, it wasn't. But they got the ball there, which is the important thing, and they got that try. And that's soon after that we had France got caught for crossing, and suddenly it went from being 13-0 to 13-10 in a couple of minutes because Italy found some space and then got a penalty. They knocked over their points, and they were clinical in that piece, and that showed that Italy actually weren't playing bad rugby. They were just being outplayed by a better team. France came back and marched down the pitch again. When they got that ball, when they got the runners going, it was really good rugby. They kept it alive, and that allowed Dupont to do what he wanted to do, basically. And they scored on a try just before half-time, making it 23-10. At that point, France had made 14 offloads in that first half. That's a chunk. And when we get to the end of the game, they've only made 17 offloads, which shows you that in the second half, France didn't have all of those runners. They weren't keeping the ball alive. And that totally changed how their attack went. Italy, in that first half, to be honest, they had a fairly passive defence. Yes, they're making their tackles, but their line speed wasn't great. They improved that in the second half, getting that line speed up, which meant that they obviously they shut France down as well. So a combination of those things meant that France in that second half weren't as rampant on attack as they were in that first half. So that line speed, not having all those runners and stuff. And one of the things we talk about the top 14 is conditioning isn't their prime, or aerobic conditioning isn't their prime. I think it's about size, has historically. Now, perhaps it's a bit of a cliche and a bit outdated, but with these younger players, but we kind of saw it felt like that, yeah, that they kind of lost their way a bit. Pardon me. And maybe that was due to fitness. Obviously, they had a big game last weekend against England. And again, we saw about 65 minutes or so. They switched off a bit and ran out a bit of steam. And we've had a similar sort of thing with France here until we got a couple of substitutes on, and then we saw Serran, etc., really running the ball again, and France sort of picked it back up again. But they definitely, France definitely contained. Italy definitely contained France for that bit. They also started to switch out a bit wider, looking and one of the things about an Edwards defence is it is outside in. There is space out there if you can get out, if you can get round the defence. It's really difficult because that 13 is coming right up into all those passing lines. Now Italy managed to do that a bit early in that second half and got some good front football down that left-hand side. They didn't actually come out with any points. We had a missed penalty in there, but it was good to see Italy was being competitive, had a good attacking thing. But it was some good play there. Then for the for later, we saw then that Italy got themselves isolated, and again, that part of that was because they were trying to go wide, but this was on a kick return. They're trying to go wide. They're trying to find that space. They didn't. They got isolated instead. And Ntamack then used the space from that line out that came from that penalty to get that arcing run and get that try. So all that effort for that opening piece of the what have I gone blank now, of that opening second half didn't result in any kind of points, and France did actually stretch their lead, but even so, Italy were definitely in the game then. We've lost Mary because of 120k wins, and rather than cutting in and out, I'm going to just go solo now. The storms in the UK, across Europe, have been causing some real issues. France then came back into it. They got themselves a scrum penalty. They did scrummage pretty well in this game, and Italy. And to be fair, France didn't help themselves during that period either. They lost 3 lineouts. The stats say 2, but this is one of the things you've got to be careful about stats. Is just because you say someone wins the ball, it's the first person to get their hands on it. It doesn't mean they actually get good ball out of it or ball that you can use. So France weren't helping themselves in that stage. They lost a bunch of lineouts as well. They did manage to get the set piece working again, but it definitely went to pieces for a while. And then we had that the scrum penalty for Italy, kick to the corner, did them all, that stopped, bash, touched the ball down against the posts, and there's nothing really the defence can do at that point. You could see the defender knew exactly where the ball was about to go, trying to figure out a way of how does he get himself between the ball and the post. But because the offside line is pretty much the try line, he can't do anything about it. And that made it 28-17. During this period, look, Italy were competitive. Don't get me wrong. Did they have a chance of really coming back in and winning the game? Not really. Yes, they were competitive, but they weren't ever going to win this game. It took a moment of individual brilliance to really put the game away. Penalty in the middle of the pitch, around about halfway-ish, somewhere around about there. Serran quickly tapped and goes. The Italian defence don't retreat quickly enough to tackle him. He then puts a grubber in and uses his pace to go and score the try. There was one other person on the French side was perhaps tracking him in support. The rest were all caught by surprise as well. But yeah, that moment of individual brilliance put it up to 35-17, and got them. That was their fifth try. I mean, they already had the try bonus point in the bag. Italy weren't done though, and they played all the way through to the 80th minute. Some lovely offloading. Again, the rush defence of Sean Edwards had come up, floated past over the top of that, managed to get round the defence, then some offloads. Now, admittedly, this was against a 14-man French side because they'd lost Rata to injury and had already used all their substitutions, but still, they got the try, and at 35-22, they actually had a decent shot at getting a bonus point, and that's why they took that quick conversion. Definitely confused the commentators, like, why did they take a quick conversion? They could have just waited and the time would have been off. Sure, but they scored. That was their third try. If they got the restart, if they got the ball and scored another try, they would have got a bonus point. And also, they would have got a second, or they could have potentially got a second bonus point for a losing bonus point as well. It didn't happen. France closed the game out, but still, it was good to see in that second half Italy were competitive. In that first half, Italy didn't play badly. It's just their defence was slightly too passive, and they couldn't stop the offloads. The second half, as I say, France didn't offload the ball. Italy did. Italy were in single figures for offloads in that first half. I think about 5, I think it was. They ended up with 18 in the end. Much more dynamic rugby by Italy in that second half. The wind clearly played a part in this. I mean, Mary's saying 120k winds they're having over there. Sure, this pitch is 3 stories down. It's not as so it didn't get impacted in the same way that Murrayfield did. But what they did have, it was very much swirling wind as well, which meant that there were times when, that you could play with the wind. Italy's problem: turnovers. 14 turnovers, particularly in that first half, which was a big thing. And as Mary's saying there in the live chat, when we lost Williamsy, looking down, the number 5 from France to the lock, when he went off, a lot of that go forward that France were getting from their pack seemed to go away. And it's amazing how much one man can be a big part, and those lineouts, and obviously when you lose one of your jumpers like that, can cause a real problem. And it did fall apart for a good period in that first sort of 10 minutes of the second half. To be fair to France, look, they lost momentum, but they kept themselves in front and kept control of the game. The substitutes that came on the whole, all added a bit of freshness. They're going to need to improve their conditioning. They're going to need to improve their concentration throughout the game. On the Italian side, look, this has definitely made a number of people in Scotland wake up and go, oh my word, because there are definitely, Italy did score 3 tries here. They left some points out on the pitch there with conversions. Scotland have yet to score a try in this Six Nations. They've got definitely issues going on in the camp because of the Finn Russell and Gregor Townsend have fallen out. That doesn't help. Sure, Adam Townsend has stepped up and has played well, but he's not world class the way that Russell is. And then if you have Russell and Townsend, Hastings has played well. Now, if you have Russell and Hastings, then you've got depth, and we saw that with the French backs when they came on. We had Saran and Jalabert both stepped in and stepped things up once Dupont and Intermac had got knackered. They came in, made a big impact, and got the game going again. And that's that bench, that depth, Scotland just doesn't have, which we saw from France here. So Italy definitely have it's a wake up call for some of the Scottish people. People like G Love on the on Twitter. Yeah, he's already going, whoa. Next weekend, 2 weekends time, is going to be tasty. Remember, Italy are at home against Scotland, so look out for that. A lot of people, particularly in that first 20 minutes, apparently, I mean, I've muted and blocked a lot of people on Twitter, and I have a nice Twitter feed. A lot of people say how toxic Twitter is, but apparently, yeah, Twitter was taking off as to, get throw Italy out of the Six Nations, get Georgia in. Nah, Italy played well today. Were they outplayed? Yes, but this is a very exciting French team. It's a very inexperienced team, but it's a very exciting French team that could go on to win the Grand Slam. You've got Italy here. So Italy losing to France is no shame. Their tackle percentages, they were up in the 90s for the first half. They dropped down to 86, but still, that's a decent tackle percentage by Italy. 195 tackles attempted by France, 153 by Italy. There was a lot of rugby in this game. We're talking, so there's 300 tackles made in this game. There are other games where you can have like 150 tackles made all game. This game had a lot of rugby. We only had 7 scrums. There weren't many knock-ons. The quality of the rugby we here was good. If you look at something like the Super Rugby game between the Stormers and Bulls, there was something like nearly 20 scrums in that game. There was a lot less rugby played. There's a lot of rugby being played in this game, and so it's unsurprising that we got those spaces towards the end and had some of those some of those tries. Looking at some of the player stats, I mean, there were some big shifts put in. There 17 tackles by LaRue, 16 by Pelledri. So a lot of tackles by some of the players. Both packs got through a mountain of work in this game. Some of the players, I mean, Hayward, decent game at the back there for Italy, was solid under the high ball, did really well. We had Minozzi also, who played on the wing, has played fullback as well for Italy. He, small guy, elusive runner, had his moments today, which was really good. But you've got to say that Allen and Canna in that 10-12 combination are starting to build an understanding between the two of them. Really good video by Squid Rugby about Italy from last weekend. But those two, look, they're starting to understand how to manage this team. And I think, they're really getting that kind of understanding. And there's definitely signs for growth from this Italian team. Over onto the French side, I mean, we've already talked about Williams, the lock was a big part of them. But that lock pairing of LaRue and Williams is really important for that side. Aldritz, the number 8, got man of the match again, just like he did last week as well. So those two are that pack is doing a lot of the work. There's a lot of attention played to players like Dupont and Tamac, Ficou, Vincent, Rattez, Thomas, Boutier, the backs. But that pack is giving them the platform. And those particular players are really, really important for them. But that backline, really sad to see Rattez get himself injured. I didn't actually see it looked like his ankle was gone. Let's hope he's back in a couple of weeks' time. But yes, the really good game. If you look at the tackle stats as well, it's very much based around that pack plus Ficou and Vincent, which shows you that Italy were keeping it pretty tight and choosing their moments to go wide, which was good. Whereas players like Bellini ended up making 9 tackles on the Italian side. So the French were getting it out to them. So really good game. Interesting to see how some of those. Actually, we should have a quick look at the carrying side of things. That's why you got it. Aldritz, 21 carries in this game. That's why Williams 11. You're looking at Machard, the hooker, with 10. Lots and lots of carries by those forwards. This French rugby is exciting, it's not spin wide exciting. It's lots of close in runners in support, offloading, and going down a channel exciting. It's really great to watch. Don't get me wrong, but it's not harem scarum, spread it wide like a Hagiwara style of play. They definitely go through the middle with multiple runners in support of that, which is it's a different style of play. We kind of think of exciting play has to involve the backs, has to involve spinning it wide. It doesn't. It can be done this way, which with all these players running off each other's shoulder down a channel, a bit like Harlequins did it and that's gotten their success 5-6 years ago now. It was to flood a channel with players. We're seeing that from this French side, and that's where you're going to see so many runs from some of the forwards doing that. Anyway, that's my summary of reactions to the games. That brings the coverage this weekend to a close. Don't forget, though, there are Major League Rugby games going on. I'll be trying to catch, a couple of those today. You can watch, if you're outside the USA and Canada, you can watch this free on Facebook. So find the Major League Rugby page for that over at DrivingMaul.com. I've got some previews of the season, explaining the season the tournament structure over there, because I've got conferences and a Super Bowl-like final, all on the website. So go to DrivingMaul.com where you can see those. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll be back next week. We're back on tonight at 8 p.m. with Stephen Harris with our Super Rugby roundup of the weekend. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell down below to get all those notifications. And thank you very much for your support this weekend.